All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. New year, but the same old story, unfortunately, for the New York football Giants. As for the second time in the last 5 years, the G Men have begun the season by losing their first three games. And as whatever faint hope for success that the Giants had, it's slipping away. And as it slips away, you've got to wonder if a quarterback change for New York is possibly in the cards. Now, veteran quarterback Russell Wilson came into this season as the Giants starter, but we all know that Wilson was going to be the placeholder for the Giants until they would or will be ready to turn things over to rookie quarterback Jaxson Dart. And you got to wonder if that time is coming soon. Now, through three games this season, the Giants' offense has only been able to produce 52 points, with 37 of those points coming in the week two overtime loss to the Dallas Cowboys. The other two games, the Giants were held to single digits. Okay, now in three games this season with New York, Wilson has three touchdowns and three interceptions on his resume, while he has completed just under 60% of his passes, and he's also been sacked seven times as well. Now, the Boo Birds were out at MetLife Stadium last night for Wilson during the Giants' 22-9 loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. And of course, you think back to it, Wilson had two key interceptions. I think about the one just before the first half ended. The Giants were driving, had an opportunity to score some points and take the lead into the dressing room at the break. And of course, that was thwarted by Wilson's pass. But nonetheless, there are some fans who feel like, hey, you know what? It's time for the Giants to turn the dart. There's going to be some other fans who feel like, you know what? They should stick with Wilson. But nonetheless, a switch at quarterback for New York might be happening sooner rather than later, in my opinion. Why? Because the jobs of general manager Joe Shane and Brian Dayball are on the line. And when you have a scenario where you're talking about two guys that are desperate, they're going to try to go out with guns blazing. Okay, the Giants need a spark. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. All right, I didn't, and I'm going to be real here, right here. I didn't think coming into the season that the Giants realistically were a playoff team. A, because of their talent overall, and B, because of the schedule that they are facing. But nonetheless, they still need something to get this team going, because when you have a bad team, a bad franchise, a bad organization like the Giants, and how they've been for so long, losing becomes acceptable, and that's where the Giants are right now. I mean, you got to look at it. Since 2017, they've only had 1 year where they had a winning record, and of course, in that year they got to the postseason, and that was the only year that they didn't have double digits in the loss column. Okay, a lot of bad seasons for the Giants, so they need something to give them some type of hope for the future. And clearly, we know Russell Wilson's not that guy. It could potentially be Jaxson Dart, especially after we saw New York trade back into round one this past spring at the NFL draft. At some point, you're going to have to see what you have in this former Ole Miss product. Now, on top of that, the early season success that former Giant starting quarterback Daniel Jones is now having with the Indianapolis Colts ain't making things easier for the Giants, Dayball, or Shane. Okay. And you ask yourself, if the Giants were to make a quarterback change, why not the veteran Jameis Winston instead of Dart? Well, I'll tell you like this. Think of Jameis Winston in this scenario as the emergency quarterback if something happens. That's basically what he's there for at this point. Brian Dayball already made the announcement that, hey, coming out of training camp, uh, uh, Jaxson Dart was second on the depth chart behind Russell Wilson. So I think sooner rather than later, we're going to see Jaxson Dart. TFX, what's going on, my man? Long time no hear from you, but as always, it's a pleasure. You're saying, but Russ has amazing accuracy. Did I see him hit that goalpost? Well, I'll tell you like this. Russ, he's completing under 60% of his passes so far this season. Russ has never had a season where he completed under 60% of his passes for his entire career. But I think the end of the line is near, and I'm going to touch on that in a minute. And, it's funny because that was going to be my next point because if and when the Giants do make this change, do I feel like this is going to be it for Russell Wilson in the NFL? I think it's a very strong possibility because you look at it, the Giants are now Wilson's fourth different NFL team in the last 5 years. And of course, ever since Russell Wilson took off that Seattle Seahawks uniform, he has not looked like the same guy. It was a train wreck in Denver. It was okay, and I'll emphasize that okay last year with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and of course now with the Giants. So I truly do think this is it for Russell Wilson because he doesn't look like, and he's not the same guy that he once was, and of course the fact that it has not been working out for him in all of these locations ever since leaving Seattle. Longer, he's a veteran guy. I think it's over. Um, it's for me, you know, some people are going to ask, well, should the Giants go out there and start Jaxson Dart this Sunday against the Los Angeles Chargers? I think it's a possibility. Okay, it's not a guarantee, and here's why. I talked about the fact that Shane and Dayball are both desperate. That's number one. Number two, when you're talking about desperation, let's talk about the Giants fan base. Let's not forget to last season when fans paid to have planes fly over MetLife Stadium and express their disgust. That was something that hadn't happened for the Giants organization since the late 1970s. Okay, so you have a fan base that is sick and tired of being sick and tired. Okay, and if you're the Giants and you're John Mara, the team co-owner, you can't afford to have the fans turn on you this early in the season. So my point is this: let's say Russell Wilson goes out there and starts off slow again in this contest Sunday against the Chargers. The Boo Birds are going to be out, and you're going to have the fans clamoring more and more for a Jaxson Dart. I would think, I would imagine, if that were to be the scenario, that Brian Dayball would go to a Jaxson Dart if the Giants do start off slow again. However, instead of just having him come off the bench, if that was to be the scenario, why not just give him the keys to the car to begin the game? Let him get all of the first team reps this week. Let him work with the first team starters and let him go out there and get prepped. I guarantee you that the team would gravitate to him. Okay, at the very least, I think they would. The fan base would. The fan base would definitely want to go out there and say, hey, you know what? Let's see what this kid has in a regular season NFL game. Now, some might say, well, you know what? Don't start him against the Chargers. Save it for Week 5 against the New Orleans Saints because the New Orleans Saints look like they're going to be god awful this year, but they still do have some talent on the defensive side of the football. There's never going to be a perfect scenario, if you will, to go out there and let Jaxson Dart test the water, if you will. Again, like I said before, at some point you've got to see what the kid brings to the table for this team. Make no mistake about it, the Giants' issues on the offensive line continue, regardless who the running backs, wide receivers, and quarterbacks are. Okay, so that's another big question mark there. Do you want to throw a Jaxson Dart into that scenario immediately? So a lot I feel is up in the air. And again, like I said before, um, Shane and Dayball are desperate right now. And if this doesn't work out with Jaxson Dart, at least for this year, and the Giants don't show some promise, well, by Christmas time, Shane and Dayball are going to be probably on Indeed or LinkedIn or something like that, tightening up those resumes. Just my 2 cents right there. The Giants, I don't know what to say about this organization right now because they do all of the things that bad franchises do right now. They are a bad franchise because they've been that way for quite some time. You look at it, they draft kids, they don't develop them, they don't put the right structure around them. And then we've seen more often than not, a lot of these kids that the Giants bring in go someplace else and have success. They go out there and spend money on free agents. It doesn't work out. The bottom line is they are in need of a culture change. Something has to change for this organization. Maybe Jaxson Dart is it, maybe. But at the very least, you got to go out there and see what this kid brings to the table for you. Okay, so TFX, you're saying Shane and Dayball will be on ZipRecruiter. Very true. Who's going to win this game that's on right now? Well, just flipping the script real quick. I said Baltimore, and if Baltimore does win this game, that would make me 13-3 on the week for the with my picks. Of course, Detroit is winning by 4 right now, so let's see how this thing works out. But nonetheless, the Giants need themselves a spark. You've got yourself a talented young wide receiver in Malik Neighbors that he competed against a Jaxson Dart in college at Ole Miss when Jaxson Dart was at Ole Miss, and of course Malik Neighbors was at LSU. And maybe that could be your quarterback wide receiver combo for the years to come. But the bottom line is something has got to give for the New York Giants. I don't know what to say. They're just in a bad state right now. They're not going to get better with Russell Wilson. And honestly, I truly do think Jaxson Dart might not be ready, but the Giants cannot afford to have Russell Wilson go out there and stink it up again at home Sunday against the Chargers. So maybe, just maybe, they go with Dart. So we'll see what happens with the Giants. Like I said, something's got to give for this franchise. Something has got to change. Okay. Is it going to happen sooner rather than later? I don't know. But nonetheless, at some point, they've got to see what they have in young Mr. Dart, excuse me. So nonetheless, let's see how this quarterback scenario works out for the New York Football Giants. Let's see if it's a scenario where come Sunday, Brian Dayball goes with Russell Wilson as a starting quarterback, and if Wilson plays bad or the offense is inept, maybe at some point he goes with to the change. Nonetheless, I guarantee you, if the Giant fans that are going to be in attendance in MetLife this Sunday, if they see young Mr. Dart warming up out there, I guarantee you they're going to be elated. You're going to see the phones out, this, that, and the third. People want to see what the kid can do in an NFL game. But nonetheless, at some point, you got to roll with this kid. Will it happen this Sunday? Will it happen soon? We just got to sit back and wait and see. But folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for checking out 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast here on YouTube. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for checking it out. And if you like what you heard and saw, just hit that like button as well as subscribing to this channel. Like I always say, it's greatly appreciated. TFX, my man, as always, appreciate the support. Love talking shop with you, man. And as always, please don't be a stranger. For everybody else, if you're on Instagram, just like it is with the X, you could check me out at 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge. You give me that follow, and I'll give you that follow right back in return. And then also, be sure to check us out on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365, where, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. But until next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I am signing off, and I'm saying thanks once again for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.